But let's go ahead and jump into calls here, and we're going to start in the with a MAGA caller from Colorado. Maddie, you are on the line with Arden and Jimmy. Maddie, how are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Just fine. All right. What claim are you wanting to make here?
Well, I would just love to know why you think MAGA silences free speech, because I live in a blue-run state, and I have seen firsthand how Democrat-run politicians do not tell the truth, and they actively silence speech. They actively let criminals onto the street. They lie about homelessness. They lie about drugs. They lie about rape. I don't know if you've ever been raped, but I've been assaulted, and they don't care. So I would love to know from your perspective, since I know you believe this very strongly, and I genuinely want to know, why do you think that the conservative side is silencing speech when Charlie, who invited anyone to speak against him and strongly believed in making America great again, because regardless of what Democrats want to believe now about us being a secular nation, that's not true. We were founded on Judeo-Christian principles, and there has to be.
Maddie, how many claims do you want to make before we start the rebuttal? How many more do you have left? Excuse me, Maddie, are you really trying to talk about Maddie, are you here to discuss and debate, or are you here to like proselytize for MAGA and just repeat propaganda points and never stop? Why do you think
that Democrats have a better way of thinking than MAGA?
I don't. Oh, then MAGA? Because it is a slightly shittier way of thinking. Maddie, you've mistaken me for a Democrat.
How so?
Because it is not steeped in Christian nationalism, and it opposes Project 2025, and generally their values are consistent with separation of church and state, which was the actual values our nation was founded upon, despite your emotional assertion otherwise. Just one of the emotional assertions you made.
Separation of church and state is something that has been entirely misconstrued, and it is part of the current judicial system who get to make up judges from the Supreme Court level all the way down, get to decide the interpretation of the law.
Yes, you are correct that they get to decide despite what the oh my God, Maddie. Hey Maddie, everything you just said.
Their beliefs on anyone,
Maddie.
But it doesn't
this isn't open mic, by the way,
Maddie.
Oh my. Okay, so she's just gonna talk. So this isn't a person who actually wants to have a conversation.
Hey, Maddie.
Okay, go for it.
Maddie, what's your favorite food?
Why do you ask?
I just wanted to know if you go on a 2-minute irrelevant lecture and say sort of things that are like kind of close to truisms, but like just shy of it. You're quite correct. Judges do get to interpret it the way they want and not the way it was actually established. That if we actually lived in a land where the judges had integrity and were actually constitutionalists the way they say they are, they would be upholding it in a different way than they are. You're quite correct that it comes down to the person and not the actual policy, but you are entirely incorrect in your assertions that it was misconstrued or something by us. Separation of church and state by the founding fathers was absolutely something that was key and important to them. And your concept of founded on Judeo-Christian values, which is a mythical term in the first place. It's not real. It's a way of trying to get basically certain Jewish people to come along with the stupid idea of Judeo-Christian values is almost an oxymoron. You can't actually have both at the same time. It's a ridiculous thing you people say. No, you can't.
Jesus was a Jew.
Yes, and do you know who doesn't? And do you know who doesn't acknowledge the divinity?
Oh my God, Maddie! Stop!
Hey, Maddie,
can you engage in an actual conversation? This isn't just a platform for you to get up and lecture. That's not what we're here for. We want to have an actual conversation.
Maddie, I am impressed at your ability to Kellyanne Conway. It's adorable. It's beautiful. Basically, everything so far you've
You're
said
not
is
having
wrong.
a conversation if you're being condescending to every person who
We
calls
can't have a
in.
conversation with you because
Maddie.
every time we ask a question, you do a fucking lecture. Like, can we actually have some back and forth and respect for each other here?
Of all the people who thought
right.
they could
Okay.
debate, that
Fine.
they could lecture me and
on my
tone
end,
police
I
me, you are the
apologize.
funniest one.
You're literally doing it right now as Jimmy's talking. It's
Yeah.
so obnoxious. Holy shit.
Thank you for the apology. All right, which
On
assertion
my
would you
end,
like?
I apologize.
Which question? I
wanna
don't
know
apologize.
what you think.
About which thing
Okay,
from
that's
your
fine.
Gish Gallop would you like a response to?
Why do you think? So you said earlier that
Mhm.
MAGA is the worst way to think, but that you're not a Democrat. So what do you believe in? Why
I'm
are
a
you saying
socialist.
Why do you think that socialism is a good idea?
Because the capitalism has already shown itself to fail, except for unless you are born very rich, with very few
Do you know
exceptions
that
to
in
be.
India
Excuse
and
me,
China,
Maddie.
they have both
Literally,
implemented
that's
capitalism
insane.
and brought
Jesus
It's
fucking
pathological.
Christ.
She's not
70 million
capable.
people out of.
She's not
All right.
capable of having conversation. It's a pathological thing.
That beep you heard, Maddie, was you being muted because you cannot fucking help yourself. I finish what I'm saying, and then you get to repeat your stupid propaganda shit. Where you're going to go, do you know that over in these places that I designate as socialist, despite the fact that they're under authoritarian rule, which is actually antithetical to socialism? But did you know that these places that I'm going to give examples, as I haven't completed my actual sentence, Maddie, the amount that I know that you don't could fill many libraries. So maybe don't try the condescending, do you know shit, and then complain about condescensions moments earlier. Once again, you prove that MAGA never have the values that they actually espouse they have. You who's sitting here trying to complain about condescension and immediately engaging in condescension. So Maddie, why don't we try again? And you commit to, you're not going to speak until I have finished, because you haven't even let me complete a sentence yet. Here we go, Maddie. What would you like to know? We're starting fresh.
Why are you a socialist?
Because capitalism in every way fails to account for wealth inequality, and whether or not it had a use in the past that was positive, we are now also heading toward a world that innovation is going to actually remove most people from the working force. And so since we already exploit our workers, making them mostly unemployed is going to work even less successfully in a capitalist system, and capitalism is on the verge of complete collapse. And so an equitable system that we've already never had, but looking to the forward that we should try to have in the future, would be something like a socialist system.
Okay, so what does it mean to you then to be a socialist? How does that benefit society overall?
I live it every day. My company is literally ran on a socialist profit model. I own a company and we pay on a profit share that basically the more labor you put in, the more labor you put out. You're actually looking at the number one and number two people at the company. The number two person above me routinely makes more money than me because she routinely works more often than I do and puts in more labor and contributes more to it. So as far as my view of it, it would be not only would we have more co-ops, we would have the inability to exploit your workers and not pay them a living wage, despite the fact that you were asking them to spend 1/3 or whatever it is of their waking hours each week at your place. It would be the removal of the exploitation of labor. It would be the removal of inequality. It would be, you would also have things, since we can't afford it, to remove the worst things that poverty do to us. We would guarantee healthcare. We would guarantee housing. We would guarantee basic nutrition. We would guarantee that everybody is taken care of at a baseline of dignified, and then go from there with how much we allow people to gather and hoard resources. It would be an anti-hoarding economy. Right now, we have a pro-hoarding economy.
Okay. So nothing is free, though. So how do you plan on paying for those things?
With the overabundance of money that already exists in our market, and we would prevent billionaires from existing by having a maximum wage.
Why do you think billionaires and people who have earned their money
They haven't earned their money.
should not have that?
Because they
How do you
haven't
know
earned
that?
their money.
How do you know?
Because there's no such thing as earning billions of dollars. There's no actual defensible way to say a person can earn the value of literally hundreds to thousands to potentially millions of individuals' generational wealth, notwithstanding. First of all, most rich people are born rich. You can't earn something by having been born. But it is absolutely insane to think that something that is built on labor and consumerism and having individuals participate at every level means that the person putting in more labor at the bottom should make 1/1,000,000th or whatever the actual number is of the person at the top. It is absolutely done on worker exploitation. And the reason it's easiest to do with very large companies where the bottom and the top never interact with each other because there's that level of dehumanizing separation. It is the kind of scheme that if you tried to go into business with your friends, you wouldn't be able to bring yourself to do because you would have faces to the people until somebody had conditioned you in a way in which you actually do dehumanize those individuals, as we know is a culture amongst the ultra rich that they don't even see the humans below them as actually human or as deserving, that they do believe they've earned even the money that they were born into.
Well, it sounds very nice, I will admit, but at the end of the day, wasn't Mao in China a socialist? And he killed over 100 million of his own people.
Okay, and Hitler went hard toward capitalism and toward big businesses. So I guess you support Hitler.
No, he did not.
Yes, he absolutely did. Hitler was a far-right, ultra-right, ultra-nationalist, fascist movement, and he went hard for, in fact, shit all over the socialists and embraced the capitalists. So you've gone with your example of a person and you think, oh, this person who's authoritarian, therefore this is a good example of it. And you're going to go with not whether or not the economic system was a problem, but that how murderous he may have been was the actual problem with it all, as though these aren't unrelated concepts.
The real problem,
I think it's
though,
funny
is
that
Hitler
like the
was
only
not far right. That
Yes,
was
he was.
actually instituted by Oxford and a couple of other colleges who, after they started changing definitions in their dictionary, they wanted to disassociate themselves as far as they could from the leftist propaganda and ideology.
And like,
that has
rather
been
than
ruining
contend with the
minds of
actual
millions.
worldview that's being presented to you, all you can do is point to other systems that aren't the system we're advocating for and say, oh yeah, well, what about that system?
Right.
I don't care about
and
that
then
system.
just lie
That's not
about
what we're
Hitler.
advocating for.
Just so everybody watching knows,
China
Maddie has just
and India
I'm not done talking.
told-
Okay, great.
Again,
Maddie,
pointing
we'll
to
just mute Maddie
systems
again.
we're not advocating for and acting like that's our responsibility.
So everybody watching is aware, Maddie has also just lied completely about the Hitler thing. Hitler was absolutely ultra-right. He actually shit on the socialists. And by the way, leftism is completely incompatible with ultra-nationalism. And no historically literate person would claim that Hitler wasn't an ultra-nationalist. I mean, you don't even need to learn German to be able to hear it in his speech, though you may need to know the German word for Germany, Deutschland. But you don't actually have to learn much of anything to see that what she is trying to do is a grift of rewriting what his alignment was. He absolutely was an ultra-right fascist. And he warmed up to the capitalists. He warmed up to the people who liked him, much like our current fascist president is doing. Now we'll unmute Maddie since I have to control Maddie's mouth for her because she cannot resist.
That is what socialists do. They control the narrative that they don't like.
And this is what Republicans do. They try to speak over you when you're telling the actual truth.
Lie
when
about
it's your turn to
it.
talk.
Try to say that you're responsible for things that you're not advocating for. Say the system you're advocating for is something it's not. Yeah, it's extremely frustrating because it's just completely detached from reality.
And your ideas were so correct, then you would let me speak. But
I would let you speak when I'm not actively speaking, Maddie.
I've given
that
you
is your problem,
Maddie, all the time who don't need to be treated like you, and
literally,
see, that's literally happening right now. We have callers all the time on Maddie who vehemently disagree with us on the topics, and we don't have to do this. This is a you problem.
This is very much a you problem, Maddie. And you sitting there going, you don't give us any opportunities. We are graciously giving you opportunities, but we only give them to you when we're not speaking.
Or shared any of my ideas or thoughts or values at all during this call, because after Jimmy was done, I was like, you know what? I enjoy a back and forth dialogue. I'm going to let Maddie talk instead of trying to butt in and get my word in.
You should thank her for that, Maddie. I wasn't going to hold my breath.
Oh, now she's quiet. Okay.
Now, well, Maddie, let me guess what your next thing's going to be when we go, what's your response, Maddie? You're going to go, am I allowed to speak now? As though everything we just said wasn't identifying that it's not a matter of we're not letting you speak. It's that you are trying to bypass what is obvious etiquette in speaking and not waiting for the silence to begin. So, Maddie, if you wanted, I'm not going to whatever plan you have for me to be like, now it's your turn, or to try and get up on the cross, it's not going to happen. When we go silent again, you're either going to take your opportunity or we're going to move on.
Just waiting for you to finish.
Oh, are you? Finally. Was that weird for you?
Yeah.
Did you have to sit on your hands?
A little bit, yeah.
I bet.
We live in a very hostile world. What can I say?
Yes, and you are one of those very hostile powers.
I'm not.
You are.
You don't even know.
Well, you're pretty hostile to effective dialogue, Maddie. We're trying to actually engage with you in a conversation, and it's been extremely frustrating to do.
Well, I'm sorry about that.
So you've already acknowledged that the system I've laid out is superior. You called it sounds extremely good. Then you went off and you tried to present some experience of some other system as the one we're advocating for, even though it's not. However, you called in and you told the screener, I don't know if you remember, because it seems like it was 7,000 obfuscations ago, that you think MAGA doesn't silence free speech. So do tell me, how does the FCC chair threatening ABC if they don't do something to Kimmel, and then after he does do something to Kimmel, go on Twitter to acknowledge that not only was he a part of it and happy about it, but this was a part of Project 2025. Do tell me how that is not MAGA silencing free speech.
Well, I think that what Trump said was accurate, which this was an excuse to get rid of him because of writing.
And yet, if that's true, why did they need to threaten it, and why the timing with it? So you're basically wanting to sit here and say,
why did Gina Carano get fired from Disney?
Because Gina Carano said anti-Semitic things, and Jewish people, presumably, or non-Jewish people too, found them offensive, and Disney, independent of any pressure and zero threat from any administration that was in power at that time, they chose to separate with Gina.
Can I share a thought? Because this is a frustration I have when talking with conservative people, Maddie, and you just kind of square on did the thing that's the most frustrating, where when censorship happens from what you might think the left, it's usually like a collective push from a group of people, like Jimmy was just talking about, Jewish people or progressive people or whatever, who are saying hey, this thing really upsets me, and I would like it if there were some sort of consequences for this action, right? And the left is accountable for that. But on the right, what's happening are the institutions of power, the president, the FCC are doing these things. It's a complete double standard to say that the left's censorship, the ones that you're putting, holding the Democrats responsible for, are just people having feelings about something. Whereas the ones we're upset from you about is the actual government, the actual people in control of the levels of power enforcing their worldview on media. I think those power structures are diametrically opposed. And it's extremely frustrating that the left has to be held accountable for every group of people who's upset about something, every stray Twitter account who laughs a little too hard at a Charlie Kirk meme. But when President Trump or the right do things that they're the actual ones enforcing it, it's not the same. The power is completely different.
So Gina, was it wrong for Disney to fire Gina Carano?
Are you talking to me?
Sorry, did I call you Gina or something?
You called her Gina?
Maddie. Maddie, was it wrong for Disney to fire Gina Carano?
Well, if I remember correctly, I didn't think it was for anti-Semitic remarks. I thought it was related to the LGBTQ. And, you know, when you make
comparing
a really good
the
point
pandemic to the Holocaust is anti-Semitic.
Well, yes, I don't
okay,
think
great. That's what she did.
Compare the death of millions of people to the pandemic, but to say that the pandemic was right when it scarred so many people's lives.
Who said the pandemic? What would the phrase "the pandemic is right" would mean? Good Lord! And by the way, you still are trying to get so far away from answering the question. Was it right for Disney to fire Gina Carano?
It depends on the reason. Like anything, there's an ethical reason.
And
to
who
fire
fired Gina Carano?
Disney did.
And was there any public pressure from President Biden or the head of the FCC chair under Biden to fire Gina Carano?
I don't think so.
There was not. Who fired?
But
who fired Jimmy Kimmel?
I can give you some other examples.
Who fired? Great. We'll do that in a moment. We'll do that in a moment.
I know my example that I brought up didn't meet my standard that I'm trying to put forward, but I have other examples that might, maybe.
We're starting with your first example. I assume it was your best, but we'll get to your next ones. You think I'm not prepared? But anyway, who fired Jimmy Kimmel?
ABC.
Which is owned by?
I'm not sure.
Disney. So Disney has also fired Jimmy Kimmel. Was there public pressure by the president and the head of the FCC? And did that head of the FCC and president take credit for Jimmy Kimmel getting fired?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
Then your opinion here is ridiculous because yes, you are sure. Yes, you do know.
No,
you are feigning ignorance. You absolutely know.
About the title of the video, which is MAGA.
Yes, you guys do hate free speech.
The topic.
You do hate free speech. Even designating Antifa as a terrorist organization has nothing to do with worrying about terrorism. It is an act of preparation to be able to silence anybody. It is because you are supporting that administration and you're supporting their actions, and you're here lying and pretending you don't know that Donald Trump and the head of the FCC fired Jimmy Kimmel. That they are responsible for it.
He got fired today. I haven't really looked much into it. I didn't even call. Okay, sorry.
Great. Well, now you know.
Call about that topic. Okay.
Now you know.
Well, I didn't call about the topic. I called because I genuinely am curious because of all the hostility and all the fights between the two sides. And when I'm sorry, what is the other person's name on the line?
I am Jimmy, and Arden is here with me.
Jimmy. Mm-hmm. And what was it?
It's like garden without the G. Arden.
Arden. Okay, you are absolutely correct that our two sides are diametrically opposed, and that is why a lot of people are so upset. I just don't like seeing that some of the things that I voted for, or when people will say things like, oh, well, you think Trump is Jesus and you worship him. No, I appreciate his policies on illegal immigration and other things that he's done. But is he a perfect man? No.
Also a terrible, that you don't have to keep bragging about being a bad person. His positions on illegal immigration are barbaric because you are content with him.
Why does that make me a bad person?
Because I just said it.
The rule of law,
Maddie, I just said it. You like
it's
his.
It's a federal offense to be here illegally.
It is a misdemeanor. It is a civil violation and a misdemeanor.
It's not a civil violation.
It is a civil violation and a misdemeanor. You can repeat yourself and I can repeat myself. One of us is correct. Who cares?
It's a federal offense
Who
to be
cares?
Here illegally. Okay. And my Medicaid dollars and tax dollars should not be given. $500 million in our state are given to illegal immigrants.
Your $500 million isn't going to them.
Who actually paid for our country in their blood, tears, and sweat.
I Googled it, and the AI overview says it's a civil violation.
That money is being given to illegal immigrants. It's not a civil violation. It is a federal offense.
Google disagrees with you.
Maddie, you're wrong. Even to what degree
Yeah,
you can
the
make it a
second time
federal
it's a
offense.
felony.
Maddie,
You're only right about the
Maddie,
first
do I
time.
have to go back to muting you
Oh,
again?
so the first time. So wait.
Misdemeanor
So
is
you
not
admit it is
civil.
a civil violation. It's only then it happens twice. So wait, if you knew that, that means you were lying. You could have just clarified, oh no, what I'm saying is the second time it's a federal offense, but you're right. The first time is a civil. But you didn't do that. You tried to say that it's always, you were like, no, it is a federal violation. Don't you think that's dishonest, Maddie? That sounds like a lie to me.
You're now being unmuted since you were once again not allowing anyone else to speak. So Maddie, why did you lie? If your point is so strong, why did you need to lie to make it?
It's a misdemeanor first time, which is not a civil offense, and the second time it's a federal crime.
Great.
It's a felony.
And guess what? And guess what, Maddie? I still wouldn't even care if you were right. And if the first time we made it a felony,
I am right.
I would. No, you aren't right. You've had to change your position already. You've had to change your position already, Maddie. You are so dishonest and you're so wrapped up in the MAGA cult thing. You only know how to lie and hear it in your own head as the truth.
And socialism is not a cult.
Correct. Socialism isn't a cult.
He's a socialist.
MAGA
is
the cult. I'm not even calling being a Republican a cult. Oh my fucking Christ. You have to be muted every time.
I know. I feel like Maddie is in some sort of like triggered self-defense mechanism mode right now.
From the very first
is
moment?
low, and I feel like in a different environment, she might be more tolerable to engage with in a conversation like this. But right now, she's doing this like triggered, I have to talk over you thing to get my point across, and just like makes her not really a person that's worth engaging with, to be honest. And you know, the lying to make your point and saying I didn't lie, I just changed it, but I said it right the first time, but I changed it. Like it's just incoherent.
Yeah. So, Maddie, I'm going to respond while you're still on mute, and then you can respond. The reason why your position on illegal immigration makes you evil and barbaric, even as you say things about, but the veterans, who I also think we should take care of. And then you start whining about they're using X number of dollars, completely ignoring the fact that they pump much more into the system than they take, that they are pumping money even in through taxes and everything else, but not receiving the benefits from them. The fact that they even the Trump administration is having to slow down in certain areas because they're realizing that they are going to get rid of a significant part of the labor force of people who not only are here illegally, but also worried about the people who might have a family member who are here illegally, who are also not showing up to their jobs. The fact that actually, if you removed all of them overnight, our economy would utterly and absolutely collapse. And that immigration, the only thing bad about illegal immigration is, the thing that is most bad about illegal immigration is how much immigration we've made illegal, when generally we should have a nearly open border with vetting obviously done to keep felons and murderers and people out from other countries. Meanwhile, we should be encouraging people to come legally and having them here documented, because the main reason why we don't is the government actually does understand that they are an important part of our labor force. And if we don't bring them in and give them those protections, we can exploit them more. Basically, every side of how illegal immigration affects you is, it shows that barbarism. The fact that a lot of the things are for show, but the exploitation is going to continue. And the fact that they are destroying families, bypassing due process, saying things, going on the news, his administration, his cabinet saying, well, you don't get due process if you're not an American. They don't get due process. What about the due process for Lincoln Riley? They like to say things like that, completely sort of ignoring the fact that, like free speech, if you don't give it to the people you don't like, then you don't have it either. Because the way you would even establish if a person is here as a quote unquote illegal immigrant would be through due process. It is that absolute violation of both humanity and autonomy that your side is obsessed with. So yes, you are a bad person for supporting Trump's barbaric immigration system, which is meant to just appear very good for him and make racists more excited that he's in office, but in no way is actually designed to make anybody safer. Now, Maddie, you are unmuted.
Okay, so am I good to share my opinion on this?
No, since you asked for a question, you're not. You asked, no. You can in 15 seconds.
Do you want to hear it
I'll give you permission in 15 seconds. Since we're doing a since me saying, Maddie, you go ahead, and you still felt like you needed to do that, as some sort of point scoring. Let's all just sit here for a minute and I'll let you know when you now have my permission, since that's the structure we're going with.
Okay, so you are just...
No, sorry, you
like,
don't have
do you
permission
wanna
yet.
debate
No,
or not?
sorry. Hang on, let me go ahead and mute you. You didn't have permission yet. We'll just go ahead and mute you. Arden, what did you eat today?
Well, when I showed up here, I had, I didn't have much time, so I took a jalapeno bean dip and slapped that on a tortilla shell with a little bit of cheese, threw that in the microwave for like 15 seconds so it's a little melty, added some hot sauce. It was excellent.
That sounds good. I've just had chicken and potatoes. That's it. But I got a roast. I got a top round slow cooking right now. All right.
Nice.
Maddie, you now have my permission to share your opinion, since this is what we're doing. Oh, no interest? All right. Well, thanks, Maddie, for calling. If you're not going to, like, what do you think that was going to accomplish? You're just going to go quiet. Oh, hit the wrong button. You're just going to go, okay, bye. It's not like it's been a pleasure.
Again, Maddie, there were some ways of engaging that it was employing that I actually think there could be some room for progress there, or at least, not necessarily, my goal isn't to necessarily convert someone, but to actually gain some sort of understanding. But she was so, like, listen, it could have been relevant to her point, but bringing up like the, being a victim of SA right at the beginning of the conversation, and then the kind of framework that she was approaching the conversation from, it felt very much like she was triggered and being very like PTSD kind of defensive in some sort of way. And I'm like, maybe Maddie, call back like next week, and maybe if you're in a cooler headspace, it'll be yeah, because I do want to have a back and forth with you, but I just there was no room for a fruitful conversation there. And I think if you started on a better foot and not trying to steamroll us, we'd actually have a good dialogue.